What's up everyone, and welcome back to the Evolved Jeeping channel. On today's video, I'm not doing my typical product installation video. Instead, I'm going to be troubleshooting an engine code and showing you how to replace an ESIM module on a Jeep JL. For the last couple of weeks, I've had an engine light on my dash, and when I ran the code, it came out to be P0456. This code means that I have a minor leak in my EVAP system, and I've actually had this code show up before. The first time it showed up was because my gas cap was not secured correctly. At the time, all I had to do was reposition and resecure the gas cap, reset the code, and then the light went away. Well, this time when the light appeared, I went and did the gas cap thing again, and unfortunately, it did not work. So then I started doing some research and found out online that the next option or next thing that needs to be done to fix this code is to replace the ESIM module. What I've heard is that these modules are prone to failure. It was a common thing that occurred in the JKs, and it still occurs in the JLs. So what we're gonna do is replace this module, and hopefully this will solve our engine code. The first thing we need to do to replace this module is to find the EVAP canister, which is where this module is attached to. Unlike the JKs, where the module was simply put under the vehicle, for the JLs, they decided to put the EVAP canister inside the passenger rear wheel well. So it's behind this liner right here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and remove this entire fender. The reason I am doing that today is because it will give me more room to film what steps we need to do to replace this module. But for yourself, you probably don't need to remove the entire fender. You could simply probably go under and pull the liner back, and you'd have enough room to get to the canister and replace the module. So let's go ahead and get this fender off, and then I'll come back to show you what the next step is going to be. Now that we have the fender removed, you can see the EVAP canister right here. The ESIM module is actually located on the back side of the canister. And in this location, there's no way for us to actually be able to access that module. So what we need to do is unscrew the three 10mm bolts right here, which will give us the ability to drop the canister down, and then we can move on to replacing the module. So let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what steps we need to do to replace the module. Now that we have the canister free, you can see the ESIM module on the backside of the canister. So what we need to do is get this old one off. So it's gonna be three simple steps. First is disconnect the plug. Then we're going to release the module itself, and you're gonna do that by pressing this little trigger at the bottom and then rotating it. Once we have that, we're then going to disconnect it from the airline. Because I need two hands, let's go ahead and do this. Now that we have the old ESIM module removed, it's time to put the new one on. The first thing we need to do is remove the old gasket or O-ring right here. So we're just gonna take that out, and then using the one that was provided with the new module, we're going to put it back in. And then we're just going to reverse our steps to install the ESIM module. So let's go ahead and get this reinstalled. Now we want to go ahead and resecure the canister in place by reinstalling the 10mm bolts. Now that we've got the new module installed and the canister back up in its place, it's time to reinstall the rear fender. But before we do so, I do want to mention something important. Every time you remove a fender, you will end up breaking these little white tabs. This is simply just a bad design by Jeep, and unfortunately, these need to be replaced every time you go to reinstall a fender. I highly recommend that anybody with a Jeep JL purchase some additional clips so that you have them on hand in the event that you do have to remove a fender, or in the event that a fender gets ripped off. Because if you don't go ahead and replace these fenders, the fender might be a little loose. This is extremely important for the rear. For the front, it's not that big of a deal because the front actually has some additional 10mm bolts that help hold it in place, and the clips are more of additional items. But on the rear, the only thing holding it in place is the white clips. So it's highly recommended that you do replace them so that you know that the rear fender is secured to the Jeep. Look, if you only break one of them, not a big deal. But if you end up breaking 3 in a row, I would definitely recommend replacing them because you don't want this loose and flapping around. It will damage the paint, and there's that chance that it could simply just fall off and then you run it over, and then you're spending a lot more than simply just purchasing some new clips. So guys, what we're gonna go ahead and do is reinstall the fender with some new clips. Then we're gonna do our final step, which is gonna be to clear the engine code on the Jeep and then restart it to make sure that the engine light does not come back on. So let's go ahead and get those two things completed. As you can see, I've reinstalled the rear fender, and the last thing that I did off camera was to clear the engine error code. What I used to do this was my SuperChip FlashCal Plus. This is a really handy tool. I actually ended up purchasing it to simply recalibrate my speedometer for the larger size tires, but this tool has a lot of built-in features into it, and one of the features is the ability to read and clear diagnostic codes. So this was really handy to have for this situation because it gave me the ability to install this part, clear the code without even having to visit a dealership. I believe you can also use a taser or an OBD scanner. If you are interested to find out more details about the SuperChip FlashCal Plus, all you have to do is click the link right here, which will take you to my video where I installed the SuperChip FlashCal Plus and showed you all the features it has to offer. At this time, guys, I have cleared the code from my Jeep, and I no longer have the engine light on the dash. But unfortunately, this type of code is something that actually takes some time to find out if it cleared and if it is going to come back. It doesn't just simply come back on when you turn the Jeep on. It's something you need to drive around and then it might appear. I am hoping that this ESIM module was my solution and the light will not come back on, but it's something I'm going to have to find out over time. If you are interested in replacing your ESIM module, I hope that this video has been informative and that you now know the steps you need to do so. I will put links below along with a part number for the ESIM module where you can purchase it or acquire it for yourself. If you have any questions or comments about anything I've done in this video, feel free to post them below and I'll do the best to answer them. As usual, guys, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Keep evolving your Jeep, and we'll see you guys on the next video.